whistle means drop it. Maybe solving mysteries with dogs is a mistake.
Oh God, we're back. Okay. So HBO's Velma got a second season, and that news jump scared me out of bed last week. It was a little early for my RROTD, or Rut-Row of the day. I never finished season 1 after doing my initial review of the pilot episodes last year. So that meant I had to actually finish season 1 after learning that the entirety of season 2 fell into our laps as gracefully as a cat falls into a full bathtub. And if you like that simile, good news, that's like 70% of the jokes in Velma.
You're as unpopular as water restrictions in the Central Valley.
I am gonna be on you like brown on rice.
As rich people say when they're asked to pay taxes, I ain't doing it.
I cover Scooby-Doo for a living, and I truly did not know that this season was coming out. The first season aired 2 episodes a week for 5 weeks, ideally drawing viewers back in to see what new adventures Scooby and the gang are up to. Scooby's not in this one. He is, but it's complicated. We'll get to it. That weekly release schedule obviously didn't work because many, myself included, as I said, didn't actually watch any other episodes of season 1 after the first 2 were as unpleasant as... I'm giving space here for the Velma writing staff to craft one of their signature zingers. Dropping the entirety of season 2 all at once with little to no warning didn't feel like a fun surprise for viewers. It felt like a threat. I was rattled. Also, I should note that it's not called Velma Season 2. It's called Velma 2. You know, like that naming convention that we barely let Stranger Things get away with. So let's dive into all of the goodies Season 2 of Velma has to offer, and if it wasn't obvious, I don't have many kind words about this show, but that does not give any of you permission to be little goblins in the comments, okay? I think it's interesting to make Velma South Asian and Shaggy black and so on. And as an open bisexual, it's fun seeing my favorite franchise actively explore that with their main characters. It'd be cool if someone actually said the word bisexual in the show instead of just Velma vaguely stating that she has crushes on both Fred and Daphne, both male and female. Someday we gotta come up with a word for that. But they're still teenagers. They're still figuring stuff out. Maybe she's pan or something. I don't know. Okay. Are they gone? I think all of the comments I just said have probably scared off the toxic crowd, but just in case they're writing an angry comment about how I'm a virtue signaling man, wrong. I'm agender. Literally don't have a gender. Figure that one out before your brain short circuits. Have fun. So anyway, spoilers for season 1 now, spoilers for season 2 will be later. There are 2 mysteries at the core of Velma season 1. Who is killing and stealing the brains from high school girls? And what happened to Velma's missing mom, Dia? Would you believe those 2 mysteries are connected? How? It's complicated. Velma learns that the last time her mom's phone was on the grid, she was at the Jones mansion implicating Fred. But then it turns out that Fred's house was once owned by a scientist named Dr. Edna Perdue, a brilliant neurosurgeon who discovered how to keep the human brain alive outside of its body. And twist, she's also Norval's grandma. Remember, he's called Norval in this one. He's not Shaggy. Never Shaggy. Forget when I called him Shaggy earlier in this video. Dr. Perdue was scooped up by U.S. military general Meeting to be a part of a secret government program called the Special Covert Operation Brain Initiative, or Scooby. Do you get it? It's called Scooby. Like the dog. The purpose of Project Scooby was to put the brains of American soldiers into the bodies of Vietnam War protesters to combat the anti-war sentiment from, you guessed it, meddling kids. It's another reference to the show, to the good shows. Now this series just glosses over the ridiculous idea it proposes that American soldiers, most of whom were drafted against their will, definitely all wanted to keep the war in Vietnam going. What are you talking about? This is a terrible idea from top to bottom. Also, it's interesting watching this plotline in season 1 a year after it debuted, where we are in the midst of current student protests against a different war. Could they have made this into an actual commentary about current events? Sure, but as we'll see in season 2, they were lazy and made it into a commentary about something annoying. But from me to all of the meddling college students in real life, keep protesting and stay safe out there. General Meeting's first plan to break up anti-war protests was to use hypnosis with a pocket watch, but that didn't really work. The hypnosis worked, but people were able to snap out of it really quickly. The brain swapping was a success, though, but General Meeting, being a typical white guy commentary, took all of the credit from Dr. Perdue's work, so she quit Project Scooby and hid her journals so her work couldn't be recreated. Why not just destroy your journals so that your work can't be recreated? Well, because then we wouldn't have this show. So again, why not just destroy them? Unable to continue Project Scooby, General Meeting became disgraced, and his family had nothing except that one pocket watch they used for hypnosis back in the day. And in what can only be described as the laziest writing I've ever seen, General Meeting's daughter Victoria purposefully sought out and married the maker of that pocket watch, William Jones, of Jones Gentlemen's Accessories. And we can't get hung up on it, but this is just incoherent, right? Victoria does not use the pocket watch to hypnotize William into marrying her. She just sees a pocket watch with a logo on it and decides, yeah, I'll go marry that person who owns this logo. And then she just does. There was no other plan. It's like if I walked into my mom's office, saw a pen on the ground, and decided I'm going to marry whoever owns Bic. Anyway, William and Victoria then have a son, Fred. You've heard of him. Victoria sees Fred as a buffoon unfit to take over the family company, so she decides to find Dr. Perdue's missing files on Project Scooby so she can put a more competent person's brain inside of Fred's body. That's why they live in the house formerly owned by Dr. Perdue. That's where her lab was built, because if there's anything top secret government operations encourage, it's taking your work home with you. But Velma's mom found Dr. Perdue's work first. Don't worry about how, I don't care. So Victoria Jones kidnapped and hypnotized Dia to rebuild Dr. Perdue's lab while Victoria sought out the perfect brain to replace her son's with. An ambitious, status-conscious young woman like she used to be. That's why the girls were murdered, and that's why their brains are missing, and that's why they were set up to frame Velma to hopefully convict her so she would stop looking into her mom's disappearance. That's the mystery. We solved it. Jesus Christ, that was so much. And also, nothing somehow, which honestly could be the tagline for this show. I don't know how they've done it, but they somehow made a series that simultaneously feels like you are constantly being bombarded with plot points and clues and 1,000 flashbacks, all while the actual narrative barely moves forward. As an example, let's take the very first 2 sentences of that entire recap that I just did. Velma learns that her mom's last known location was at the Jones mansion, but then finds out that the house was once owned by brain scientist Dr. Edna Perdue. Ignore everything else that I said about the plot. The time it takes to uncover those 2 pieces of information is a total of 4 episodes. She learns about her mom's last known whereabouts in episode 2, and then learns about the history of the house in episode 5. So what the hell was happening in episodes 3 and 4? It didn't further the mystery. Instead, the show tries to sloppily monologue about how patriarchy is bad and feminism is good, which, for the record, I agree with. Yes, 100%. But it's slightly undercut by how they make Velma deliver those speeches, because the show goes out of its way to constantly tell the audience that we should find Velma annoying. Now, I'm not saying that I personally find Velma annoying. I mean, I do. She's a terrible friend, constantly slut-shames the popular girls, and has next to no character growth, but the show itself wants you to be annoyed when she gets on her soapbox, which makes the message confusing. Are you critiquing the patriarchy, or are you critiquing the women who critique the patriarchy? Feels like you're trying to have it both ways, and it serves no one. There's even a plot thread with Fred where he goes from being a gross womanizer to a legitimate feminist, which is kinda interesting.
Dr. Edna Perdue was a female neurologist.
You don't need to say female, Velma. You can just say neurologist.
But then, scared that they'll accidentally make some kind of salient point, the writers pushed him so far in that he circled back around on himself. Yeah, he cares about women and minorities and social justice in general. And when you think about it, Doesn't affirmative action mean that straight white people are the real minorities? Oh my god, just take a stance somewhere. Stop trying to make every character have every political viewpoint. The chuds who this would appeal to are already not watching your show because they're bigots and your lead character is a gay woman of color. What are you doing? And after all of that waste of time, now you have 5 episodes left for the rest of the actual plot. Just kidding, only 4 episodes, because episode 7 was spent making the same joke over and over again about how the term Fog King sounds a lot like the F swear.
You're gonna be a big Fog King loser.
You're an adult-rated cartoon on a streaming service. Just say the fuck word. Also, notice how during my whole discussion of Velma Season 1's plot, I never once mentioned Daphne and only barely mentioned Norval? The actual mystery, the core hook of this show, is much more focused on the outlandishly large cast of adult characters than the actual iconic meddling kids. This sucks. This sucks so much, dude. Hey, what if I just left? Would you all still watch the video and let the mid-roll ads run if I just got out of here? Would you do that for me? So the pacing of this show sucks. But let's hope it improves with season 2. It doesn't. It gets worse.
I was in a band called the Hex Girls. We were a real hardcore witchy goth act.
You know, all of these little homages would feel nicer if it was in a show that actually felt like it cared about these characters and the source material. But no, this show wants so hard to be like, Scooby-Doo is weird when you really think about it.
An old-timey photo booth. We can disguise ourselves.
Daphne, that's stupid. Who would ever stop to put on a costume in the middle of a chase?
But to be fair, up front, I want to say a few things that I actually liked about Velma Season 2. Don't worry, this section will be brief and littered with asterisks. Continuing on with the theme of the show being inclusive, there's a new character named Amber who is the non-binary child of Thorn, the Hex Girl. As an agender person myself, it is nice to see more gender diversity in an official Scooby-Doo show, even if it is this one. I would have liked more if the Hex Girls just stayed around the same age as the actual Scooby Gang and just make one of them non-binary. I think we all know who. But this was a welcome addition for me. They created a plot-driven reason why Norval snacks so much, like his shaggy counterpart. He's suffering from anxiety after killing Fred's mom in the previous season. Sorry, I forgot to mention that part. He killed Fred's mom. It's really bloody because this show's cool. And Norval chose food as an unhealthy coping mechanism for his anxiety. Now, in a vacuum, or at least in a better show, I think this is an interesting take on the character that would allow, competent writers to explore mental health and the way people can lean on unhealthy outlets for comfort. This show doesn't do that, but we all saw that coming. As much as I hate how much screen time they take away from the other characters, Daphne's cop moms often do create decent jokes about the incompetence of the police force, and that's about as biting as the commentary in this show gets, so you'll have to savor it while you can.
You can't just imprison a totally innocent person.
What don't you get about cops?
There is not a single voice actor in this cast who isn't giving it at least 100%. The material they're given is truly awful, but everyone commits, and it feels like they all genuinely want to be there, a feeling I can't comprehend, but respect them for. But their performances are ruined by a problem I'll discuss later. Lastly, there is one single joke that gave me a genuine belly laugh, and I would like to share it with you as a brief, shining achievement and only bright spot of this whole series. The context for this scene is that the high school students are on a field trip that goes awry when suddenly the military bursts onto the scene to give chase. Racing back to the bus as their getaway vehicle, Fred yells,
Same seats! Same seats!
I don't know. I just think that's very good. Whoever wrote this 1-second bit should have written more jokes for this series and taken some of the jokes away from the person who only knows how to write similes.
Your responses are like framed quotes in male dorm rooms. Aggressive and frightening. My posts get treated like sensible tax reform. Mocked and ignored.
And that is it. Those are all of the good things I have to say. You may recall in my previous video about season 1 that I talked about how I thought the art style was pretty. I haven't really come around on that exactly, but it's really just the extremely moody scenes that take center stage. The rest of the show isn't really much to look at stylistically, and even in those moody scenes, the art direction relies heavily on the same one trick, which is to make everyone backlit all of the time so they get a halo of light around them. That's why I lit the video like this, because I'm clever. It's not a bad idea by any means, but once you see it, it just sort of makes everything look shiny all of the time. Like all of the characters are made out of glossy plastic. And this is no shade to the actual animators, by the way. They did their job with the art direction they were given. And there are scenes that genuinely do shine in all of the right ways. There are just more scenes that don't. Why are you scratching at my chair? Lux, where'd you go? I need to pick you up so people know I'm not crazy. There's a cat in the room. All right, jury's still out. Let's get into the meat of it, though. I tried taking notes for each episode of season 2, but I got as far as episode 2 before skipping all the way to episode 8, with my first note there being, oops, I stopped taking notes. Is this because I have ADHD and am bad at taking notes? Or is the show still terrible at pacing its central mystery? Tune in right now to learn that it's both. I streamed my reaction to watching episode 1 to my Patreon-only Discord with my friend Phil from Tulak and Mango, and we spent a solid 5 minutes analyzing a 30-second scene of this show that boggled our normal-sized minds.
I'm sorry, can you actually back it up? Can we watch that scene again?
I would love to watch this scene again.
Because she's running home because she thinks that the teacher is a murderer.
Yes.
And that's why she says, please don't be dead or having sex.
Please don't be dead or having
sex.
sex.
She doesn't want to see her mom getting dicked down,
yes,
or doesn't want her mom to be murdered by the person she thinks is a murderer.
Correct.
No, Mom, it's worse than I thought. You're writing. I mean, what's going on?
That's following up on another thread that she doesn't want her mom to be writing because her mom writing made her mom get possessed last season.
Kind of.
There's visual indicators that were post-coital. She's wearing a robe. There is a smoked cigarette.
The pictures on the walls are slightly askew, which could mean
they did it
something
against the wall.
Sure.
Coitus was had.
Yes.
I know I said I was scared to do it, but as that perfect ass held me in his arms, I realized I can't live life and be afraid of it.
So, this is another emotional element, too. In a few seconds, when she finds out that the person she just slept with could be an actual killer, there's no reaction of but this person literally just inspired me to get back into writing.
Not be afraid of things.
To not be afraid.
That I've hooked up with someone who is suspected of murder. Actually, that new revelation that I had is shattered now.
Yeah.
This is something that needs to be reacted to.
I can't be afraid of anything. The person you just had sex with could be a murderer. That would make me instantly go, oh, never mind. I actually should be afraid of more things.
Where's Mr. S? Did he kill Cogburn? And if he didn't, can we say he did?
Velma never told her mom that she suspected Mr. S of the murder.
No.
However, the cops still came in and said, we suspect, and drew guns.
Yes.
Given the other options in this town, maybe it's best if you do keep solving.
She doesn't even react to it.
Doesn't react to that news at all.
She doesn't even say he's not here and he's not a murderer. She sees them come in. They draw guns.
Decides that Velma's question is a more pressing question to answer, which is can I solve mysteries again? Cops come in. Where's the guy you just slept with? He could have killed someone. You know, Velma, I think you should solve mysteries again.
Okay, so I am right. I did not lose my mind.
Jesus Christ, this show. Yeah, that's it. That's the whole scene. Oh my God. By the way, if you want to watch our entire commentary video about this episode, that will be up on my Patreon soon as it's edited down and made funnier. I don't ask for this very often, but I could really use some support on Patreon if you like my videos and could give it. I hesitate to say that it's a dire financial situation. It's not, it's just been cutting it a little close the last couple months, and it's hard to ask for help. So I won't pitch you on it anymore. But the link is in the description, and I appreciate that you're even watching this part of the video as I keep slouching further into my chair. Anyway, that scene is sort of a microcosm of the pacing issues in this series as a whole. Yes, the season arcs are filler up top and heavy lore dumps at the tail end, but the moment-to-moment pacing is also atrocious. Dialogue is edited as if they were told to remove all silences. Don't let any moment breathe.
I can't. The one time I got high, I was convinced a dog was talking to me. But if I figure it out, can I join your science fair project?
And the lack of any space, any small but welcome beat, is a detriment to both comedy and suspense. The two genres this show is trying to capture. I originally wrote a whole section here outlining the importance of timing and space for comedy and suspense, but that felt silly. We all intuitively know that jokes aren't funnier the faster you tell them. You don't need me to tell you that jump scares hit harder when you've been tricked into feeling calm, or that quiet space can make a viewer lean in with anticipation and suspense. While I do feel like most of the jokes are as unfunny as me giving the writers another fill-in-the-blank simile prompt for a bit, it's the editing of the show that ruins even the good jokes. Velma's editing is so baffling. These are 22 to 25 minute long episodes exclusively airing on a streaming service where the runtime could be whatever they want, but each episode is edited like they have no time to spare. Any half second of empty sound space must be chopped out so we can cram another uninspired joke into that void, which too will suffer without the necessary beat between a setup and a punchline. Even just regular sentences have any breathing room removed, which dramatically alters the actors' performances. And that is what I meant earlier when I said the actors are bringing their A game, but their performances suffer regardless. Someone could give a breathtaking performance, but if the editor literally takes the breaths away, then it's ruined. And when there isn't an unrelenting barrage of dialogue, there's the sound design that really doesn't trust its audience to know how to feel. So for this to make sense, you have to know what hits and risers are. This is a riser. Oh. And this is a hit. Movies, shows, and documentaries and everything, they use these sound design tools to establish suspense or a revelation or just a big cool moment. I use them in my videos a bunch, and you'll never unhear it now, especially as I'm about to critique someone else's use of them. There is this scene in episode 2 that uses so many hits and risers to build and relieve tension in rapid succession, and it's the only time I've ever noticed it in any media because there's about one every 10 seconds. Here's all of them.
He's not here yet.
I have some sensitive information. Oh, God.
Fred.
Hey, Emily, what do you think of Velma? Give me your takes.
Oh, tiny cat.
Teeny tiny kitty.
He's
You
so
can hardly see him.
He's so little.
I'll be the devil on your shoulder.
Oh, no.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you have thoughts of Velma season 2?
Probably, yeah. Oh, bye, buddy. Full disclosure, I didn't watch the entire season. Like, I don't even think I watched the opening episodes, did I? Because you started watching it without me. But I watched a majority of it afterwards.
I don't know if the people making the show watched the whole season.
It's similar to what I felt like with the first season. Some things are a little better, but not much. Like, Velma is at least like slightly likable, and like other characters have a little bit of growth, but there's just so much happening all at once that Hi.
I'm trying to make sure the autofocus stays on you.
Oh, I
not
see.
Me, so I'm hiding.
Like in the show, there's just so much happening all at once. And there's so many characters, both the main cast as well as side cast, that are constantly pulling focus that it's really difficult to kind of focus on what's important for the show, which I don't really even know what that is anymore. It's constantly making fun of everyone, but it also feels like it's trying to have a message at certain points that it's like, I don't understand what the messaging is or is trying to be. And this maybe seems counterintuitive, but it's just so bloated. I wish that it was shorter. Each episode, if it was like under 15 minutes, I feel like would help tighten the narrative a lot.
Cram it in.
Would make the jokes more impactful, would really help with, hey, let's just make the best choices for these characters and make the best jokes for these characters possible.
It would force them to have to actually cut jokes.
Yeah.
Too.
I just wish it was shorter. There's so many episodes, and every episode is so long.
That's it.
That's it.
That's Emily.
That's my take.
Give it up for Emily, everyone.
Yay.
My wife, my actual real life wife.
I say I don't have my ring on though. I was working out.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I was working out.
I would never forget to put my ring on in a video.
No, it's really embarrassing for you, isn't it?
This show is just entirely overstimulating, and we haven't even got to the mystery yet. Okay, so in season 1, the mystery was centered around girls getting their brains cut out of their heads. In season 2, the mystery is about middle-aged men getting killed and having their dicks ripped off of their bodies. Goodbye, monetization. It's been fun. Now, here's the thing. I was genuinely interested in this plot because the people being killed were all men in positions of power. A sheriff, a professor, a priest, some doctors. People in these roles can have a massive impact on teenagers' lives. And the fact that they were all killed in the same specific way made it feel like there was a sort of story here of a high school student, presumably a girl, getting revenge on the men in power who have wronged her in some way, symbolically cutting their dicks off to send some kind of message. But I forgot that Velma isn't a show about teenagers or high school students. It's a show about all of the adults in the room. Norval's grandma, Dr. Edna Perdue, is revealed to still be alive and working on her brain-swapping research. Project Scooby is still operational, and all of the men who have been killed were a part of it, despite each member still having their own discrete day job as priests and teachers and doctors and such. And the reason why their dicks were ripped off has no symbolic meaning. The killer was just really short and could only attack low on their bodies. And who was this short serial murderer? Well, if you haven't been spoiled yet, now is your last chance to turn away and hold on to the remaining peace you have in life. Just leave a like on the way out. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. The murderer was Scrappy-Doo. Yeah, so remember how Project Scooby's whole goal was to disrupt the agenda of meddling kids? They tried it with hypnosis, they tried it with brain swapping, and after those fell through, a mysterious masked figure named Uncle Scooby showed up and floated the idea of creating a cool, talking dog that kids would love. And they could use that dog to infiltrate and monitor meddling kids across America. But it didn't work, and it was a disaster, and it ruined everything. And like, okay, is this supposed to be a commentary on the Scooby-Doo franchise? This annoys me so much. I could make an entire video about this, and maybe I will if enough people tell me to in the comments, but Scrappy did not ruin Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo, as a franchise, was already failing, and the introduction of Scrappy actually boosted its ratings. Kids genuinely did like Scrappy. The problem was, around the same time that Scrappy was introduced, people behind the scenes were taking Scooby-Doo into all kinds of weird directions, creating what are largely considered to be the most divisive or even outright forgettable entries in the entire series. Scrappy wasn't the problem, but his debut unintentionally marked the turning point from the franchise's comfortable and familiar structure to the goofy, experimental shit that largely didn't land for most people. It's not Scrappy's fault. He was just there. But because he was there, people associate him as the problem and the reason why Scooby-Doo fell from the public consciousness for a bit. So much so that they made him the main villain of the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie, and now again in Velma, a show that has proven itself incapable of having an original thought. I mean, even the whole concept of the brain swapping stuff is so similar to the first movie. I didn't even think about that until just now. Jesus. Make something new. I guess props to the writers for misleading me with this mystery. I definitely didn't see it coming, largely because it's uninspired. So yeah, Scrappy killed all those people, but who is Uncle Scooby? We haven't solved that mystery yet. Who is this evil masked figure that led the charge in creating Scrappy? Before you guess, remember, again, that this show about teenagers is actually not about teenagers at all. In fact, I still haven't mentioned Daphne again. I mean, she's in the show, but she's mostly just there to be Velma's girlfriend, which I feel like is a step down from how she's traditionally portrayed. Justice for Daphne. But yeah, Uncle Scooby is Velma's dad's fiance, Sophie. Sophie had the idea to create Scrappy for Project Scooby, but knew that none of the older men running the project would take her idea seriously as a hot young woman, as the show described, so she created this disguise. It worked. Scrappy-Doo was made, but he was a monster, so Sophie/Uncle Scooby tried to cover up Scrappy's murders until she could find him and skip town as a way of protecting her family. It's messy, And I know you have follow-up questions, but you will go to the grave without those being answered. Here's the fun part, though, of how Velma Season 2 ends. Velma dies. She just actually dies and becomes a ghost. But don't worry, because Amber knows how to bring Velma's spirit back into her body. Until then, Velma just has to watch out for other demonic spirits that might want to hurt her. It ends with this shot of glowing red eyes, and I feel like I know where this is going. Velma is not getting a Season 3, at least I hope not, because then I'll feel obligated to cover it in a video, and that might kill me. But at least I will die how I lived, monetized. If Velma does get a Season 3, I think they're trying to set up a 13 Ghosts storyline. Like, yeah, the demon chest glows with green eyes and not red eyes, but this show made Scrappy an invincible, bloodthirsty government science monster, so I don't think a color palette is going to be a big hurdle for them. I've always said that 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo is a really good concept for a show, but the show itself was a bit of a miss for me. I would hate to live in a world where the second try at this fantastic premise is given to a season of Velma, especially because that means Velma will come back for a Season 3 while WB Discovery is just sitting on other unreleased Scooby projects that people are actually interested in. I mean, hey, breaking news. Looks like there's a rumored live-action Scooby-Doo show in the works at Netflix that will probably be like a young adult CW version of the gang. What a snag for Netflix, am I right? It's too bad WB Discovery doesn't have their own streaming service that could put new Scoob content on. But hey, you know what? Honestly, I'll take it. Hell, invite me to the premiere. I'll dress up like Shaggy from Monsters Unleashed. I'll do it. I don't know where I'm going to find that outfit, but I'll do it. And as much as I have not enjoyed watching Velma and definitely don't recommend it to any of you, I am genuinely glad they took a chance with this show and made something different. I will always be interested in what's on the horizon for Scooby-Doo, whether it's something that sticks to the franchise's episodic mystery-solving roots or something totally experiment. They've been experimenting in dramatic ways since before I was even born, and sometimes that creates Scrappy and that whole era that isn't actually his fault at all. But other times it creates Zombie Island and Mystery Incorporated and a pup named Scooby-Doo and that weird puppet movie that was intended to be a pilot episodes for a show that got canceled. Why do I keep giving myself video ideas? Scooby-Doo is not so precious to me that I never want anyone to mix it up and try something different. It just also has to be good. And Velma is not good. Oh, I didn't intend to write almost 5,000 words about Velma. I was just planning on hitting record and riffing off the top of my shiny dome. But then this happened. The plot was so much to keep track of, I just had to actually spell it all out so that I could understand what I was going to say. This video is not sponsored, so once again, if you liked this and you want to support me, I would appreciate you checking out my Patreon. If that's not your thing, I also have links to Ko-fi, PayPal, Venmo, and even an Amazon wish list. But if you're watching this video all the way through to this point, that means so much to me. So thank you, and remember to explore your favorite art through curiosity and vulnerability. See ya.
Who's on TV? It's a baby cat.